The VW Golf has been a staple of many families over the decades, the GTD being one of the most popular due to its performance on both ends of the spectrum. It's efficient, yet apparently powerful enough for some fun. Let's have a look and see what she's got then. My name's Tom, and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. Before we start, please like, subscribe and hit the bell if you'd like us to keep bringing you this content. Also, don't forget to follow our socials for updates on our stock. Links in the description below. Talking about stock, this car is being prepped for sale and will soon be on our website if it isn't already. So check it out. Again, links in the description. Right then, starting up front we have the 184 horsepower inline 4-cylinder diesel. The power figure is decent enough, but the torque figure is what you should be focusing on, as at 380 Nm meters, it's the same as the Golf R. Being front wheel drive, the 0 to 60 figure is just okay at around 7.2 seconds, but it's what comes after that that matters. Let's see what diesel power has to say about the 30 to 70 sprint. So, for the first run, I left the car to its own devices and, well, it struggled for traction, which in turn gave us a fairly poor time of just 6.97 seconds. Taking control myself and starting in third gear gave us a much better time of 6.41 seconds, which, as you can see, isn't that far off even a Stage 1 Ford Fiesta ST. Ignore the invalid sign, by the way. We always do these runs on exactly the same bit of road, and the dragging can be a bit weird sometimes with the slope angle. Anyway, inside we have typical Golf. However, there are a couple of signs letting you know this is something a bit more special, namely the tartan seats and the GTD logo on the leather steering wheel. Being a pre-facelifted Golf means this has the old navigation screen, which does look dated, however it's still responsive and easy to use. It's also still got Bluetooth audio, so it's not that old really. Storage is plentiful in the front, and whilst it's no Bentley, there's still felt lining in the door cards, so things don't rattle around. Even your Audi A3 doesn't have that. The rear of this 3-door doesn't feel as spacious as the 5-door, but thankfully you still get all the amenities like your own climate vent and cup holders in the armrest. The boot comes with an adaptive load floor, making it great for the weekly shop. Plus, when you want to shove longer items in, you can simply raise it and create a nice flat load floor. Anyway, enough about the inside, let's get driving. We're back in a Golf, and this time it's the diesel hot hatch. So, does it deserve that GT name? Well, I guess we're going to find out today. Firstly, we're going to drive it around town and see what it's like over some bumps. How does the suspension deal with speed bumps? Well, already I noticed a bit of creaking, so that's something that needs to be looked at. But the suspension is 15mm lower than a normal Golf, so theoretically it should be slightly sharper in the corners and be slightly bouncier over the bumps. Doesn't feel particularly sporty so far, I have to say. But steering is nice and light, throttle pedal and brake pedal have a lovely weight to them. It's your typical Golf really, it's just got a load of extra torque. DSG gearbox does a good job of just quickly snapping through the gears. You don't even notice them really. Even at lower speeds it's fairly smooth, which is quite surprising actually. Usually the diesel VAG cars can be a bit jerky at lower speeds. But so far it is very nice to drive, lovely and smooth. One thing VW are very good at is insulating that rattly diesel engine from the driver, and it means when you're driving around town you don't have that constant like going on in the background, and it makes for quite a nice quiet car to drive. One thing I love about Golfs is they have auto hold assist or hill hold assist, so when you come to a stop you can just take your foot off the brake and the car's not going to go anywhere. Just makes driving around town that much easier. These seats are comfy as well. These have got the diesel tartan seats, so they don't have any red on them like the GTI does, but I mean they're effectively the same, just without a bit of colour really. But, do you know what, I kind of almost prefer them over the leather seats, you know. They just feel a little bit more squidgy, a bit more comfortable, but they also hold you in quite well. And in terms of parking, it's well, it's a Golf, so it's very easy to park. You've got good visibility around the whole entirety of the car. Plenty of steering lock to be had. You've got parking sensors front and rear. So yeah, for round town, this is a very easy car to drive indeed. This being a 3-door does kind of mean once you're in a space, it can be a little bit harder because the doors are just very slightly longer. So just keep that in mind if you're going for a 3-door car. That scratching noise, by the way, is just sellotape. It's not the steering wheel. Right, what's it like out of a junction? Start, stop. No, turn off. There's a lorry behind me now. I'm going to have to go half throttle. Not much grip, plenty of torque though. Gets up to speed nice and quick. So far, not bad. Could do with some better tyres though. Being a sort of fairly high torque front wheel drive car means you need pretty good tyres on the front. Otherwise you are just going to have no traction at lower speeds. Anyway, let's reset our trip computer and see what MPG we get on the motorway. Online it says this will do 67.3 miles per gallon on a long run on the motorway. But I have read some Facebook pages and joined some groups, and I haven't seen anyone get that figure yet. Most people sit around sort of like 51 to 55. Hopefully we can achieve 60. I'm going to drive fairly slowish on the motorway, like 60 miles an hour, just to see if we can get that economy figure. I hate this like non-junction that's pretending to be a junction in Watford. Everyone stops here even though it's not a junction. Anyway, before we get on the motorway, let's have a quick taste of the handling roundabout. Right, drive mode, sport, gearbox in sports, now into manual. Let's go for traction in sports as well. We can use the flappy paddles. Yeah, it's got a nice amount of torque. Gearbox again, shifts pretty well. Let's see what the front end feels like. I already know what it's going to feel like. Yep, understeer. This has the sound actuator as well, so you kind of get this like slightly fake diesel-y noise coming into the cabin. Sounds quite nice though. It's better than nothing. But yeah, as you can see there, as soon as I put my foot down, the car just wanted to go straight. didn't want to turn around the corner at all. And that is because of the tyres and the fact this doesn't have a proper mechanical diff. Although in a car like this you wouldn't really expect one. This has got their like electronically, where it kind of like brakes the inside wheel. It doesn't really act like a proper diff, but it does a little bit of work. So yeah, if you get one of these, first thing to do is to get some Michelin PS5s on it. Right, traction back on. Let's go into Eco and see if we can get 67 miles per gallon. Right then, on the motorway, and this is where the Golf GTD really comes into its own. Because it's like a regular Golf really, so it's got not a lot of wind noise, not a lot of road noise. It's pretty good, but it's got one thing that all other Golfs don't have, and that is just that effortless wave of torque. Let me show you. So if I put this car in manual and then change lanes, visibility is good by the way, get rid of this van, and then just put my foot down in 6th gear and look at the way it just builds speed. It's just so effortless, and if you didn't have idiotic van drivers in front of you, then you'd be able to do 70 miles an hour. Anyway, I am going to do about 15 miles on the motorway. I will join you in about 20 minutes. And let's see if this thing can really do 67 mpg. Before we finish our motorway section, I just want to mention that Golfs have one thing, pretty much as standard across the range, that really does set them apart from other hatchbacks, and that is the adaptive cruise control system. And it means when you're on a motorway like this, it just, you know, you're not having to put any effort into driving the car, it just does everything for you. So yeah, that is one big reason to get a Golf. If you do a lot of miles and you don't want to be stressed out, you know, in traffic and stuff, then look at getting one of these over something like a BMW 1 Series if you want that adaptive cruise control system. But yeah, that's our motorway section done, and we are currently sitting at 59 mpg. So, if you are on a long journey and you are driving pretty slowly, I do think you can get over 60 miles per gallon. You'll get maybe like 62, 63 at a push. 67 though? You're going to have to be doing a lot of hypermiling to get that kind of figure out of this thing. Overall, pretty impressive. Even if you factor in the price of diesel at the minute, it is slightly more efficient than something like a GTI or a Golf R. But is it as fun as one? Let's go to a back road and find out. Okay, back into sports. We're going to go from third gear, I think, as second gear. Ain't exactly useful in this car when the weather's like this. Actually, let me go into second and I can just show you what I mean. See, it kind of just hop, skips and jumps over the road then. How does this thing handle then? Well, it's a bit understeery, but that's not really the Golf's fault as much as you'd think. Most of it does come down to tyres. Corner exit is very good. Third gear carries you pretty much up to 70 miles an hour. And it's just got this lovely thick wave of torque. Like even in fourth, you put your foot down and it builds speed so effortlessly. It's like taking off in a plane. Of course, being a diesel, it's never going to be as zippy as a petrol-powered car. You know, it's not going to be quite as sharp, but there is something to be said about a diesel. It's enjoyable in a different way. Don't really need to do a sound check. The sound actor is giving us all the sound we need. Let's see if you guys can tell a difference actually. So if I put this thing into eco, wait for this van to get out of the way. Come on. Okay, so we're in eco now, and if I put my foot down, don't really get any noise at all, do you, really? Let's give it one more blip in eco. It's just kind of normal rattly diesel. But if I go into sports mode and then put my foot down, you get this low down grumble. It's actually alright. I think in petrol cars it doesn't really make sense, as you want the actual engine to be making the noise. But in a diesel car, it almost kind of does, you know. And it's not that intrusive. Right, let's push it round this one a little bit harder. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't really want to oversteer that much. That's a shame. If the chassis was a bit more dynamic, it'd be a bit more fun. But I ain't feeling it, unfortunately. Steering, yeah, it's typical Golf. It's not very positive. Just kind of wants to go in a straight line. Does mean at higher speeds it feels very stable though. Right, let's go to a slightly smaller road and see what this thing is like. Okay, smaller road, second gear. Do we have grip? No, we do not. Not a lot of wheel hop though, which is interesting. Because Golf GTIs and Cupras have quite a lot of wheel hop. And it's basically the same chassis. Suspension's very slightly different though, so that could be the reason why. And this is where these little diesel cars do well. It's those 20-mile-an-hour bursts that you need in real life, are where diesels are very good. Yeah, brakes are nice and sharp actually. Suspension's definitely stiffer than a regular Golf. And I'd say it's stiff enough, it just controls the chassis a little bit more. Let's go around again actually. This thing ain't that bad. Right, let's give it a sort of launch from first. Yeah, no grip. But it gets up to 60 before this corner, you know. Traction out of corners could be a little bit better. Again, that's mainly due to the tyres. Just need some really good tyres on it. This suspension is pretty much perfect for a UK road though. And yeah, it feels fairly dialed in. On the longer corners, the rear follows pretty well. You do need to be turning in fairly hard though. It's one of those cars that's kind of like more capable than it needs to be. It takes itself very seriously. Right, one more time. I mean, the lack of traction almost makes it fun, you know. Oh, it's got so much punch. Weird thing is, even though it's got the same amount of torque as a Cupra or a Golf R, it just feels stronger almost. Maybe because it's coming in like quicker. It feels like the turbo just spools up that much quicker. Oh yeah, brakes are good. Yeah, third gear's where it's at. Look at that. Proper rapid. Yeah, you'd keep up with the petrol counterpart. You'd even keep up with the Golf R down there, actually. Not bad. Not bad at all. Right, we are kind of running out of fuel, so we're going to have to go straight to the conclusion, I think. So, the big question, does it deserve the GT badge? Well, sort of. You see, it's got the grunt, but in the corners it doesn't differentiate itself enough from a regular Golf to really be a proper hot hatch. One thing I will say though is this: if you're looking for a relatively affordable motorway cruiser, this is up there with some of the best. It's quiet, comfortable and effortless to drive because of its low down torque and adaptive cruise control system. As always, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please give it a like and why not subscribe, as not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which includes this lovely little Golf. My name's Tom and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.